Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the dedication of the 9/11 I-Beam Memorial Monument. Appreciate your being here. Welcome everybody that's attending. Welcome the American Legion Riders and the Patriot Guard Riders that put the flag line together for us. And welcome all of our public safety professionals that are here today. We're going to begin with the flag ceremony, followed by the national anthem. The flag ceremony will be done by the Port Angeles High School ROTC and the Sheriff's Office Color Guard. So if you would all please stand for the flag ceremony and the national anthem sung by Teresa Pierce. We'll also have a flyover by the U.S. Coast Guard.
Color Guard, post the colors.
Color Guard, attend, put, carry, colors.
All uniform personnel, attention.
Forward, march,
Present arms.
right, turn, march. Color Guard, halt, present, colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Carry, colors. Ready, cut, order, colors.
Order arms.
Ready, cut, ready, face.
Will they come back again, or is that just one flight? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Teresa. That was beautiful. Thank you to the U.S. Coast Guard for the flyover. We appreciate that. While you're standing, may I invite up Tim Richards, the chaplain for the Clallam County Sheriff's Office. Tim will have a moment of silence, respecting and remembering the victims of 9/11 and the invocation. Tim?
We can't gather on a day like this without recalling images that are probably burned in all of our minds. Maybe it is the shock of where you were when you first heard the news of the attack. Maybe it's the sense of surrealism as you looked at those images of buildings crumbling and twisted steel. The grief of seeing those who were wounded and dying and had lost loved ones. But there's another set of images that have to be on our minds as well, that evoke very different emotions. And those are images of firefighters who were rushing into buildings as panicked people were rushing out. Or pictures of officers coated in dust who were leading and carrying victims to safety. Images of medics working in the midst of chaos, who were tending to the wounded. Those are the images I'd like to ask you to put in front of your mind for the next minute as we observe a moment of silence. And I want you to think of those words of honor, respect, and gratitude. Please bow with me. Lord, today we remember with great sadness the many lives that were lost 10 years ago. We pray for comfort for the many family and friends who grieve this day. And yet in our sadness, we also give thanks. Thanks for the bravery and the dedication of those police, firefighters, and medics whose heroism on that dark day saved so many lives. We gather today to remember, to honor, to express thanks not only for what happened, but also for all first responders who daily provide that invisible safety net that we so often take for granted. Bless them, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Richards. We appreciate that, and I'm sure in all of our own ways, we remember where we were, what we were doing, what we thought, what we experienced 10 years ago today. My name is Alan Barnard. Welcome again, and I'd like to introduce these two gentlemen keeping a sharp eye on me here are the two gentlemen that got the whole ball rolling and had the vision to have this beam from Ground Zero allocated from the Port of New York, New Jersey, and brought out to Clallam County for the benefit of all of our citizens. I'd like to introduce Petty Officer Second Class Andrew Moravec, Petty Officer Second Class Sam Allen. Kind of fun embarrassing them. They've earned it, though. Before we go farther, we're going to have some music here in just a moment. But in addition to welcoming all of you, I would like to welcome the public safety agencies that are represented in Clallam County. 10 years ago, this monument was directed primarily towards Clallam County public safety. This one that we dedicate today is of a national character, and we want to acknowledge the contributions to our quality of life by the public safety folks all through the county, both local, state, and federal. Those agencies include the police departments of Sequim, Port Angeles, and Forks, the Clallam County Sheriff's Department, PENCOM 911 system operators, the Olympic National Park, the tribal police, the Elwha, the Makah, and the Quileute Nation, the Port Angeles Fire Department, the fire districts throughout Clallam County, including the tribal, the Washington State Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol, the U.S. Coast Guard, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Hopefully, I've covered all of that. A lot of folks looking out after us out here. We're very fortunate, and we welcome you today to our ceremony and to honor you for your work you do every day. Now with that, we have a special treat to get things going from here. We have some wonderful patriotic music from the Grand Olympics Chorus, directed by Judy Sharp. Judy, will you come forward? If that doesn't give you chills, we need to take your temperature. Thank you, ladies. That was wonderful. Appreciate it. They will be back. We will wrap up the ceremony. I know it's hot, out here. We'll try to keep this as brief and to the point as we can, but we still have a lot of wonderful things coming up here shortly. And we will have them back to sing a couple more songs and a little surprise at the very end. So thank you. Appreciate that. I thought we'd start at this point with a little bit of history, because this park sort of came by the public safety monument idea in some interesting ways, and we'll graduate into how this one came to be. Right after 9/11, first couple weeks after, I sort of woke up one day and, like all of you, was angry and frustrated and feeling helpless. Where do we go with this? What do we do with this? What does it mean? Where do we go from here? What really happened to us? All of the things for a while that we pulled together and we thought about. But two things occurred to me. One was that our public safety people every day go into burning buildings or do all kinds of things that they do in connection with their work that put their lives in peril. And but for the grace of God, we could have lost some of our fine public safety people here in our county. We have lost some over the years. And the second thing that occurred to me is it seems such a shame that we had to wait until somebody passed away in the line of duty before we said thank you. And it seemed to me that there ought to be a permanent monument of some kind, not a memorial, but a monument that acknowledged and thanked our public safety professionals every day for the work they do on our behalf to create the wonderful quality of life. It's the reason we all live here. So I got busy, and we had a lot of citizens that joined in. Jan Harbeck is here today. She worked with me very closely on that. And I don't know if I have anybody else from the original committee back then. And we got busy, we raised the money, and we came up with a concept and a design, and it took 8 or 9 months. And it came to fruition, and this wonderful monument we dedicated September 11th, 2002 to our public safety people within Clallam County, police, fire, sheriff, and 911 system. We had plans to do a Part B. There was a bench here where the monument is now. And around this wall, we were going to put plaques for people that either were passed away in the line of duty or people that simply retired to say thank you for putting a career on the line for all of us. But we really couldn't raise the money. We got this much done, and that's about all we could do. So we had this lingering dream that someday something would come along that would be suitable for the rest of the park. Well, a couple of years ago, unknown to me, there were a couple of other gentlemen that were thinking along the same lines. And something else began that we sort of married up later on, became the perfect answer for them and for us. With that, I'd like to introduce Andrew Moravec and Sam Allen. I don't know which one of you is going to victimize yourself first. So come on up and tell them what happened and how it happened.
Afternoon, everybody. As you know, Petty Officer Samuel Allen, and it all started off really simple. In fact, I remember it was actually almost 2 years ago to the day that this idea for this came about. I read in the Sunday edition of the Peninsula Daily News about the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, allowing non-for-profit organizations, police departments, city governments, the use of World Trade Center wreckage to construct a memorial such as this one. And I kind of thought that was a pretty good idea, but I didn't put too much thought into it at the time. And then on the following morning, Monday morning, when I was riding into work, Andrew, he gave me a ride, and on the way into work, I mentioned it to him, and he's like, yeah, you know what, that is a really good idea. We should look into that. So from there, it started to snowball. First we contacted the city of Port Angeles and mentioned to them our idea, and they thought it was terrific. They brought us out to the park, and we said, okay, yeah, this will be great because we already had the plaque here, so it'll be perfect once we get it done. And so from then we just started to discuss plans, what we wanted to do and how we wanted to look, and then we started getting all our paperwork together and dealing with a group that's such as the Port Authority in New York, New Jersey. They are very stringent on making sure you have all your I's dotted and all your T's crossed. So getting all our paperwork and everything in order to get it submitted was kind of extensive. Luckily, we got some help from some people in the command here at the air station, so that helped out quite a bit. So we submitted our paperwork December of that year, and then we waited, and we waited, and we waited. And while we were waiting, we came up with more ideas, more plans. Every day, it was probably, we had a new concept of what we wanted to look like, how we wanted to do it, and how we thought it should get done. And then in December of 2010, we finally got our approval from the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, that we were allowed to have this piece that we requested. And then the next step for us was to find a group, an organization that could help us. So then, with the help of the same reporter from the Peninsula Daily News, we were able to submit another article asking for help. And after the article went out, we received probably about half a dozen phone calls from different groups and organizations. One of them was from a representative from the Port Angeles Fire Department's auxiliary organization. And we felt that'd be really fitting for them to be our sponsor. So we decided to go with them. And then also another very important phone call we received was from Alan. And at the time, I didn't know Alan. I don't know how we got to where we were with this without somehow running into each other, considering he was responsible for the original monument. But luckily he called us, because I don't really think we would be at where we are today if it wasn't for Alan's help. So and then after we had our group selected, the Firemen's Auxiliary, we had to submit additional paperwork to the Port Authority. But luckily for us, it only took 2 days for them to respond and say everything was good to go. We can start you can start working out how you're going to get the piece shipped out here. So, and then the process started of the design and construction. We sat down, me, Alan, and Andrew. We came up with a design concept we wanted to look like, and we sat down and we met with Bob Stokes, and he was a big help. And this is what we came up with. And when I first started, I would have never imagined that it would have turned out and looked this good. And so. So now that everybody has an idea of how it all came about, Andrew is going to go into a little bit more detail on why it came about.
Hello, everybody. My name is Petty Officer Andrew Moravik. The why. Why is what has been asked since we've started this project. It took a long time for us to really understand why we took the time and stuck with it so much. And I think it stems back to the actual car ride into work when Sam brought up the idea of bringing an I-beam to Port Angeles. It's one of those things that when I was sitting in the car and he mentioned it, it occurred to me that I hadn't thought about September 11th in a long time. That means for whatever reason, I remembered it when he brought it up, but for whatever reason, it doesn't occur to me that often. And I feel that if we had something near and dear to our homes that reminded of what happened that day, it may be a little easier to never forget something of that dark day in history. So with that in mind, we kind of pursued it and we put our hearts into it just so we can offer this piece of history to everybody in Port Angeles, and not just Port Angeles, but whole Collin County and the peninsula. Anybody that's willing to make the drive out here can come and see it. It turned out great. I want to thank everybody who participated in the construction of the monument. I want to thank everybody that has shown up here today to show your support. It feels great to be an American with all this support. So thank you guys for coming out. Have a great day.
Thank you, gentlemen. It was interesting. We all got together in April, and they said, we want to have this thing done by September 11th of this year. Today, we looked at each other and thought that's kind of a tall order. But thanks to a lot of people, it actually happened. Before we go further, I'd like to read what the plaques actually say. Let me mention to you there are two plaques on there. One is our tribute plaque, and one is the information about the beam. We had a little last-minute glitch in the program to get the bronze plaques cast, and so that's going to take us another week or two. We need some different materials. So Bob Stokes fashioned up a beautiful replica here of the plaque. The one that goes on it will be triangular, and the edges of it will be melted. Symbolically, they will be melted, which will fit in pretty much with the rest of the monument, and we'll also have a brass plaque explaining what it is. The tribute language that we have on there, that will be on that plaque and is on the temporary, reads like this: in memory of those who have fallen, and with gratitude for those who serve, the citizens of Clallam County dedicate this monument to the brave men and women of public safety, September 11th, 2011. Never forget, September 11th, 2001. Very simple and straightforward, and it says the dual purpose: to remember 9/11 and to appreciate our public safety people today. The plaque itself on the beam explains what it is. If you haven't come up here to see it, it reads this way: this portion of an I-beam was recovered from Ground Zero, the site of the fallen World Trade Center Twin Towers buildings in New York City, destroyed by a terrorist attack on September 11, 2001. In all, at that time, 2,752 victims perished, including 343 New York City firefighters, 37 Port Authority police officers, and 23 New York City police officers. This piece is 9.33 feet long. It is 21 3/8 inches wide, 1 inch thick, and weighs about 1,400 pounds. This monument was conceived, designed, funded, and built by private citizens and civic groups in Clallam County. And what I'd like to do at this point, number one, is to thank all of the folks that donated money and services towards this. They're all over the county, civic groups, individuals. Money came in from everywhere, and we are funded for it, which covers all of our costs and covers a contingency fund for future repair and maintenance, and to finish up some of the items that we'll be finishing up on. But this would not have happened, and it would have not been for the amount of money that we had to pay if it were not for the volunteers that stepped up and participated in the construction. And I would like to name them, and if they're here in the audience, I'd like to ask them to come up so you know who they are. Bob Stokes of Studio Bob. My right-hand guy. He was there all the way through it with me. Gray Lucer. Gray, you're out there. Gray's a sculptor. Alex Anderson of Alex Anderson Concrete. 3 pours like this is magnificent work. Steve Zenovic of Zenovic and Associates. Steve out there? Steve donated all the engineering for this to make this possible. There's a lot that went into what you see there. It isn't just a blob of concrete. There was quite a bit to be sure that it did everything that satisfied the city. Laurel Black of Laurel Black Design. Laurel, come up. Jay Ketchum of Affordable Crane. I think Jay is out on a job in La Push right now, but he brought his crane truck out and helped to set it in place. That's Affordable Crane, Jay Ketchum. Bill Roberts of Noon Rotary and Ralph Bowman from Noon Rotary. Either one of you here? Well, they did the excavation. There's Ralph. Thank you. And Bill was out here, he probably home nursing a sore back. There was a lot of work involved to get the bench out and to clean all that up and get it ready to pour. Nor'Wester Rotary. Is anyone here from Nor'Wester Rotary? Thank you, Laurel. And thank you. They were kind enough to, 10 years ago, to provide a checking account for me to raise money then and to do it now under their foundation. And we appreciate that greatly and their support of the project. Corey Delicott and Richard Bonine from the City of Port Angeles Parks and Recreation Department. I think Corey couldn't make it, but I think Richard's here somewhere. Howie Riddell of the Riddell Auto Mall, who sponsored the tour around the county that was very moving and wonderful. I don't know if Howie made it today. Out there, Howie? Okay. And we had Noel Van Giesen and Ted Dole of Structures to Go, who gave us a place to house and work on this beam over this entire time. The Structures to Go. We have the Port Angeles Fire Department Auxiliary, Tammy Ziegler, president, who signed on to be the sponsor, and they would not have released the beam to it were they not to have signed on. Is Tammy here today? And I'd like to have a special mention for two of our local media, the Peninsula Daily News. John Brewer and Leah Leach did a tremendous job of covering it and donated a full-page ad to help us raise money for this. We appreciate it. John, Leah, either of you here? Okay. And our thanks to KONP Radio, Todd Ortloff. They did tremendous coverage of this, and they had two different shows on Todd Ortloff where we were able to get on and explain it and get the word out. So our special thanks to them. These, ladies and gentlemen, are participants that made it happen. Thank you, everybody. Thanks. We're good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We're not done yet. These fellows will still be working for a little bit while we do a little bit of finish work. All right, at this point, we have some speakers coming up, and we have 5. And I'd like to start out with Chief Terry Gallagher from the Port Angeles Police Department, speaking on behalf of all city law enforcement agencies in Clallam County. Chief Gallagher.
Thank you. Always first. Captain Hahn, I think these two guys here need to be promoted. Are you working on that? Yeah, okay. My name's Terry Gallagher. I'm the police chief in the city of Port Angeles, and I'm here to speak to you today on behalf of the city police departments of Forks, Sequim, the tribal departments, all the municipal departments on the peninsula. And I know that when we get together and we think about 9/11, we think often about the many people that died that day, about the great loss of life. And what I would like you to think about today is not so much that public safety people lost their lives that day, but that they gave their lives that day. Because that really is the hallmark of a public safety professional, a willing to give to you something that is very dear to them. A loss can be something you experience accidentally. When you give something, you give it intentionally. It's a deliberate act, and that's really what happened that day as the firefighters from New York rushed into the World Trade Center. It's what happened that day as the Port Authority and New York City police officers rushed into the World Trade Center. And in a different way, it's also what happened when the passenger and crew of Flight 93 or the passengers and crew of Flight 77 that hit the Pentagon died that day. It was a gift, I think, to our country. It was a gift on the part of the public safety people to their community. And I believe that's why we gather to honor public safety, because public safety professionals, police, fire, of whatever agency, give to their communities every day. They do it without asking really for much. They do it deliberately, and they do it quite well. And they do it for you, for their community. So I thank you very much. It's quite an honor. It's a privilege to be here today. It's an honor to serve you. I very much appreciate the efforts of all the people that were just up here to put this monument together. And I particularly appreciate the efforts of Alan Barnard. In my career, which is a little over 26 years long now, public safety has had no greater friend than Alan Barnard. And I really think, as a crowd, you should recognize his efforts as well as ours. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Nobody gets this done without all the people that helped out to make this happen. You've met a lot of them. You know these two gentlemen from the Coast Guard who had a vision, and here it is. Our second speaker today is Fire Chief Dan McKean, and he'll be speaking on behalf of fire service throughout the county in all jurisdictions. Chief McKean.
Thank you, Chief Gallagher, and thank you for all showing up today, but especially thank you for those that were involved in this monument. This monument will be a symbol, a remembrance that not only we can enjoy, but many generations beyond us will enjoy, even those that were born well beyond September 11, 2001. I kind of was inspired by the chaplain for the Sheriff's Department, thank you very much, when he came up and talked about the emotions, and it brought me back to September 11. And I was on vacation that day, and I remember waking up to the news, and I never watched the news in the morning, but I remember my wife waking me up to the news that day, and she was talking about a jet that ran into the World Trade Center, and that was the first one. And as I was watching, we were watching it unfold and actually saw the second one go into the World Trade Center, and we knew it wasn't an accident, it was something deliberate. And what I remember were the emotions that I went through. The first emotion was, it was just disbelief. You know, you had to sort through your emotions and truly try to grasp what was happening. The second emotion was thinking about all the people that were in that building. Obviously the public safety that was rushing in the building to help those evacuate the building, as well as those that were trying to evacuate. And eventually it turned into just anger. You know, how could that happen? How could somebody do that? But really the emotion that I wanted to talk about wasn't those emotions that probably every single one of us went through. It's the emotions that unfolded the weeks after. My emotion turned into pride. I was proud to be a member of the Port Angeles community that poured out to New York, both in terms of finances and in giving, doing anything they could to make that situation better. And I was proud to be an American. I was proud to be part of the United States, the way that they responded to that event. And so as we look at this memorial, and not only think of the public safety individuals, and again, Chief Gallagher, thank you for that, but really I think the lesson for me in all that is when adversity hits, when significant things hit, that if we come together as a community, if we come together as a nation, there's nothing that we can't overcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief McKean. Appreciate it. Our third speaker today is the Sheriff of Clallam County, Bill Benedict, speaking on behalf of his department, which is all over the county. Sheriff Benedict.
Thank you. Where's my teleprompter? I'm going to have to rely on some crib notes here. It's a privilege and honor to be here this afternoon on behalf of myself and the Sheriff's Office, as well as the tribal police departments. I'd like to personally thank two patriotic Coast Guardsmen, Andrew Moravec and Sam Allen. They started the ball rolling on this monument over 2 years ago. Sam was transferred to a Coast Guard base in Puerto Rico a couple months ago. I see Sam was able to make it today. It's wonderful that he could make it, and I'm sure that Captain Tony Hahn, skipper of Edith's Hook, had something to do with it. I want to extend my thanks to Tony for his support of this project, as well as his leadership and support of Olympic Peninsula law enforcement. Captain Hahn, it is so assuring to have you and your base, along with the Border Patrol and ICE, as trusted and capable partners in the post-9/11 world. Thanks to the many individual and corporate donors of money, time, and resources, many of whom are here. Your generosity, community spirit, and labors are what make Port Angeles and the Olympic Peninsula the best place on earth to live. But a special and heartfelt thanks needs to go out to Alan Barnard. It's been done, it's been said again, but I need to say it again. He's the glue, the focus, the energy that brings us all here today. He has been tireless and single-minded in overcoming obstacles, time crunches, and inertia to bring this project to fruition. Thank you, Alan. It's hard to believe that it's been 10 years since we were attacked by extremists that killed almost 3,000 innocent men, women, and children in the name of a religion. Most of us are a bit reflective today. We look back, we think about where we were, what we were doing, and who we were with when the attack came. The front page of this morning's Peninsula Daily News profiles some of these Peninsula residents that were in New York City and the Pentagon when the attack occurred. I found it very moving to see that this morning. I was home in Sequim when it happened. 9/11, 10 years ago. But less than 24 hours before that, I had flown an MD-80 airliner from Boston Logan Airport to St. Louis. Logan was the airport that 2 of the 4 airliners used in the attack had been hijacked from. At the time, I was an airline pilot. I was flying for TWA. You can see that I had somewhat of a career change after that. My life, like most everyone else that day, changed. Innocence was lost. The U.S. suffered the greatest loss of life from a foreign enemy attack on native soil since the country's birth over 200 years ago. 2,977 people were killed on 9/11. Included in the toll were 343 firefighters and 60 police officers. While everyone else was trying to flee the carnage and destruction, these brave public servants answered the call by going into the raging inferno of the Twin Towers. Survivors recall seeing firefighters, laden with gear, to fight the inferno and save lives, marching up the stairs of the towers only to be consumed by the explosion and final collapse of the structures. To save and protect, they paid the ultimate price. What Alan, Sam, and Andrew, along with generous support of businesses and citizens, have created here is a monument to the sacrifices of these 9/11 heroes. What better way to honor the heroes than use this monument as an opportunity to look ahead and make a commitment that, first of all, we will not forget. This beam, set in concrete, will forever remind us of those who gave their lives doing their duty. They will not be forgotten. Second, that we use the lessons learned from this tragedy to stay focused on our missions of public safety through cooperation, mutual support, and training. And finally, I want to assure everyone that we take your trust in us as first responders and public safety officers seriously. While we hope and pray we never have another 9/11, we will stay vigilant and prepared and respond to one if need be in an equally heroic manner. We will do our duty. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. By the way, you did a good job of reading what I wrote for you there about me. I'll send you the $20 later. Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate that. All right, our next speaker is Captain Tony Hahn from the Coast Guard. Please, Captain Hahn, come forward.
Thank you, everyone. They're very kind. Thanks, Bill, for the kind comments about the Coast Guard. I have to say that being a Coast Guardsman in Port Angeles and Clallam County is a great experience for us. We just really feel part of the community, and it's just a fantastic place to be. As I worked on what I wanted to say today, it was very hard for me to not remember what a tough day this was. And I'm sure that most of you out there feel the same way. So I have some things I wrote down. I really need to read them to you because it was a tough day for all of us, and I want to talk about it in that way. And then I know this isn't a day of grieving, so I'll have some good news at the end. 10 years ago today, we lost over 2,900 people in a horrific attack against our country. These men and women were friends, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, daughters and sons, wives and husbands. The loss we feel is deep and stirs within us a powerful emotion. In the selfless service to others, fulfilling the highest calling, we lost 343 New York City firefighters, 23 New York City police officers, 37 New York and New Jersey Port Authority police officers, and 8 emergency medical technicians and paramedics. The death of these shipmates reminds us that we are mortal and we work and live in a dangerous environment with the cowardly threats summoned from the worst forms of evil. Their deaths were not in vain, for in their life we find the inspiration to live, the strength to carry on, and the compassion to care. These men and women serve their country in the highest degree of honor, respect, and devotion to duty. May we on this day take a moment to remember them and their families, to hold them in our hearts, and to continue the legacy for which they gave their life. This memorial serves as a daily reminder of their sacrifice, but more importantly, reflects our community's resolve for critical and uncompromising commitment in supporting our incredible first responder organizations. I am so proud and honored to represent the Coast Guard today, and incredibly humbled at the dedication and devotion of two incredible young men, Petty Officer Andrew Moravec and Petty Officer Sam Allen. Thank you. I want to thank Alan as well for being the engine that really got this thing moving. And Semper Paratus, God bless America.
Thank you, Captain Hahn. Appreciate that. Sure we can all relate to it. Our last, but certainly not least speaker is Linda Dowdell. And Linda lived near the Twin Towers in New York City when it happened, and I thought it wouldn't be complete. For those of you that weren't there and don't understand on a personal level what that felt like to this country, Linda was there, and she's delivered a similar presentation before. She's thought this through and has some wonderful reflections on what it was like. Linda?
Alan, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linda Dowdell, and I'm so very happy to be here today to be reunited with my former neighbor, this I-beam. For almost 20 years, we were neighbors in Lower Manhattan, and the Twin Towers, of which this was part, served as such a great mode of navigation, would tell us, myself and my husband, and also our visitors, whatever, am I heading north or south in Manhattan? Just look for the towers, and then you could tell. This beam is a neighbor I didn't really know. You may have neighbors like this. Some might say those are good neighbors, the ones who don't bother you, make no demands, they don't meddle, they don't gossip. And then there are the times when we all need something, some other kind of neighbor. The no problem, I'll drop everything, I'm at your service kind of neighbor. 9/11 created millions of that kind of neighbor in New York and everywhere else. In 2001, my husband Ron Thompson and I lived in an apartment about a mile from Ground Zero. Ron, lying in bed that morning, saw the silver underbelly of the first plane flash across the top of the window, not knowing at all what it could possibly be. Almost immediately, he felt the wall of our building tremble. As sirens became audible outdoors, he turned on the TV, and we saw the flaming hole in the North Tower. My first impression was similar to something we've heard earlier. Had to have been a small plane accidentally hit the tower. And seeing that image on TV, I remember thinking, man, it's going to be really difficult to fix that hole. We continued to watch while live, the second plane hit the South Tower, and we knew that something very bad was indeed in motion. Later that morning, Ron and I left the apartment and walked the few blocks to St. Vincent's Hospital to donate blood. The sky, like today, had never been bluer, in sharp contrast to the enormous gray cloud billowing to the south. The hospital was never more prepared for an emergency, with rows of gurneys and hospital staff at attention. But volunteers were not needed to donate blood. There were no survivors to treat. Later that afternoon, I got on my bike and rode downtown toward the now toppled and burning towers. The streets were an urban cyclist's dream, absolutely no vehicular traffic. City buses were parked along curbs the way I'd seen one winter when a blizzard struck the city. An eerie stillness replaced the sirens. The next day, the stillness was replaced by absolute chaos. I suddenly remembered I lived on a tiny island from which I might not escape by Friday night when I was scheduled to fly to Chicago for a 2-month job. Airports were closed. We lived on 14th Street, below which vehicles were not permitted, so traffic was bumper to bumper out our door. Ron and I ended up renting one of the few available rental cars in Manhattan and beating the crowds by sneaking out of town at dawn Friday morning and driving to Chicago. Ron drove back to New York on Sunday, experiencing the shock of the new skyline alone. I escaped a great deal of sadness by spending those next 2 months away from New York. By the time I returned in December, tons of debris had been cleared away and the smell of death had lifted a bit. I was scheduled for a week of jury duty, and I walked home every evening as close to ground zero as was permitted. I never knew what might bring me to tears. The partial skeleton of the South Tower still stood smoldering. Memorial services occurred several times daily, with bagpipes leading mournful marches through the narrow streets downtown, often to Trinity Church, built 400 years prior and miraculously left standing a few blocks from Ground Zero, where many searched for solace day and night. Ron and I were so very lucky. We weren't caught in a blazing building, nor on the street choking on mouthfuls of glass and ash. One of us wasn't at home wondering if the other were stuck in a subway, having already left for work. I did not need to add my sign to those that suddenly papered the city like a new crop, reading, "Have you seen my husband? My daughter, my mother, last seen. Please call with any information." We did not lose close friends, relatives, or neighbors. In fact, I know someone who began her day at a breakfast meeting at Windows on the World, the restaurant atop the North Tower. She left the restaurant about 10 minutes before Flight 11 penetrated the building and should have died 2 more times that morning, so to speak, but lived to tell the tale. Lucky or not, that day changed my life. Nothing to date has been more difficult for me to absorb, physically and emotionally, than 9/11. Today, on this similarly beautiful day, at this dramatically beautiful location, 3,000 miles from Ground Zero, I'm glad to take a moment to remember how New Yorkers, often characterized as surly and impatient, survived a great tragedy and spontaneously came to one another's assistance during a time of horrific stress, confusion, and pain. These memories give me a certain perspective, a reignited can-do attitude, and a knowledge that we humans are capable of so much, both in times of tragedy and on ordinary days as well. Among the hundreds of postings at Union Square Park during the days after 9/11 was the following, and I leave you with this thought. Even if I knew that tomorrow the world would go to pieces, I would still plant my apple tree. Thank you.
That's got to be hard for Linda to read, as hard as it is for us to hear it. But it's very poignant, and it's very real, way too real. Now, that concludes our speakers. We're going to have the Grand Olympics course come up in just a moment. Before we do, I want to, and that will wrap it up. When they're done with their last song, we're wrapped up. But I wanted to thank all of you that showed up and participated today. Want to thank the chorus. Want to thank the Legion Riders and the Patriot Guard Riders, all the people that donated money, all of the folks that you met that put heart and soul into building this. My buddies, Sam Allen and Andrew Moravec, who had the vision and the commitment to start the ball rolling and make this thing real. We appreciate it, and years after you're gone, we will never forget you. You can always come back because this is still your home. And last, I'd like to... And lastly, I'd like to thank our public safety professionals who serve in this county, in all jurisdictions in this county, to protect our quality of life, for the sacrifice, for the hard work, for being our neighbors and friends. We thank you. And with that, Judy, would you bring up the Grand Olympic Chorus? And let's finish this right.
When troubles come and my heart burden be, and I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. Raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart beats so imperfectly. But when you come and I am filled with wonder, sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on
very deputy. Pleasure to meet you. You guys, anytime you want, are free to I do the internet too.
Thank you for your service. This is awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. For coming out to your station all night.
Thank you.